Good afternoon, team. I'm Corey, and welcome to another amazing session of Tech Tuesday here at QED, where we're taking all of the mystery out of technology, one click at a time. Today, we're diving into the wonderful world of PowerPoint. Love it or hate it, we all use it. I'll make sure you know your way around the interface. We'll kick things off by getting comfy with the PowerPoint layout, learning where everything is, what it does, and how to steer clear of the oops. I just deleted my video presentation, but thankfully, undo is always just a control Z away. My plan is to start with the basics so you can spend less time fumbling and more time looking at the presentation like a pro. Whether you're preparing for a classroom presentation, a church program, or even just organizing your ideas so you can visually see those in PowerPoint, this is an essential tool that you're going to need in your toolbox. The mission is to keep it practical, simple, and fun. And even if you never used PowerPoint before, you'll leave here confident enough to make clean, clear, and engaging slide decks. So, before we get started, I just wanted to ask a question, just for fun. What's the worst PowerPoint presentation that you've ever seen? It could be from an array of fonts, something like a color that burns your eyes, or even one of those 50 slide decks with 0 pictures. Just give me a couple of, just drop a couple of examples in the chat and just let me know what your worst presentation to date has been. Too much information on the slide, JP said. I like that. Anybody else? Anybody else got any ideas of some pretty bad slide decks that they've seen? Teacher says someone that overuses them for everything. Yeah, sometimes it can be a little bit of a hassle. Well, I mean, one thing's for sure, if you've seen a slide deck, you know how beneficial they are as far as staying organized. But if they're done incorrectly, they can be, more of a hindrance than a help. So hopefully today we'll be able to go through the basics, understand exactly what PowerPoint has to offer, and eventually you'll be able to feel confident that, one, you can create a slide deck that's both informative, but also something that draws your audience in and makes your life that much easier. So we're going to get into, all of the different features and all of the great things you can do with Excel. But for the most part, what I want to take this session to do is just, take it slowly. I know, for some of us who've used it before, this may be the presentation that might kind of, bore you out a little bit, but that's fine. The good thing about it is this. We're going to take our time and we're going to learn exactly what it is that we can do in PowerPoint, but we're also going to know exactly what those things are. So when we need to do some things, we'll be able to navigate to them efficiently. All right. So can everybody see me? Just if I can get a little reaction, just let me know if they can see me. They can also see my display screen. Good. Janet sees me. JP says he sees a blank screen. Now, are you referring to the blank screen that says click to add title? All right. Good. We should all be seeing the initial screen when you open up a PowerPoint worksheet. And we're going to go over all of these different things like that. But I want to make sure that everybody can see my screen so we can take it slow and get to the nitty gritty of everything. All right. So let's start by getting comfortable with the PowerPoint interface. And excuse me while I go between screens, because I'm trying to navigate a few things like that. So if you notice that I'm looking away and moving in a different direction, hopefully I don't confuse anybody, but it's just the nature of the beast. I have a couple of things that I'm looking at on one screen, and I'm also managing something else on the other. So, all right, so let's get started. So before we dive into the design of slides and adding content, it's important to understand the layout of your workspace. And this will make everything that we do much easier in the next steps. So we'll take a quick tour around our ribbon, our slide plane, and the key tools that you'll mostly use. So think about just learning where all of your tools are in your toolbox. It's most important because, you hate to get to the job site and then you can't remember where things are. It kind of makes for a, busy day, and it's also nerve-wracking. All right, so what happens when you first open up PowerPoint is you'll notice there's a couple of different items that you'll come to see, and we're going to talk about them so I can explain to you what these items are and where you can find them in the future. All right, so there's several things that need to be understood about a slide. The first thing is the slide itself. All right, so the main slide that you'll see, or the main screen that you'll notice, is called the workspace. And this area is right in the middle. Hopefully you can see my cursor here. This is known as the workspace. This itself is what the slide looks like that you're creating. It's where you add and arrange your content. The slide plane is to the left, which is where you show the slides that's in order. The ribbon is up at the top. We learned about the ribbon in a couple of sessions previously when we talked about Excel, but the ribbon is this area right at the top, and there's a lot of tools and commands up here. So you'll be able to find home, insert, draw, a couple of different things. And this is all arranged across the top of the screen, which is known as the ribbon. This is essential because this is like your command center. This is like the controls of an airplane, if you will. This is where you can make sure everything runs smoothly. If you need to navigate to something rather quickly, you'll be able to do so by just selecting one of these tabs. And don't worry about it. We're going to go through all of these different tabs, and we're going to talk about what's inside of these tabs so you understand what it does and what can be found there. And then hopefully, once we get through this session of understanding how to navigate PowerPoint, we'll jump into a quick demo of how to create our first slide deck. So everybody goes away with at least the tools that they need to go ahead and be that much more powerful when they need to visualize what their thought process is. Okay, so let's go ahead and break into what some of these tabs are on our ribbon. And we're just going to start from the left, and we're going to navigate over here to our home tab. And if you by chance have PowerPoint on your machine, go ahead and feel free to open it up, follow along with me if you will. That way, if there's some things that you need me to slow down or revisit, I can go ahead and navigate to that. So if you can just drop me a quick note in the chat if there's something I get ahead of you with. You notice that, maybe we got a little bit of lag and some things might not have come through clearly. Just go ahead and drop that in the chat for me. I'll be able to go ahead and take a look at it, and then hopefully I can address those things accordingly. So don't want to go too fast and lose anybody and anything like that. So I just want to take a second just so everybody can notice where the home tab is up to the left. All right. So the home tab, this is where you go for mostly everything that you're going to do in PowerPoint. It includes your central tools and formatting text, like changing your font, which you'll do over here. Um, Changing your font size. Um, this is what you'll notice here in this box. It's grayed out right now. And it's probably because we haven't clicked anything. Oh, here we go. So this is where you'll change your font. And there's a plethora of different fonts that you can check and select, make things much more aesthetically pleasing to you. The font size here is where you'll go and change the different font sizes of the characters that you're going to be placing. And a fun tip is you may not notice, but inside of PowerPoint, generally speaking, you don't want to go too far under 24, just because the whole purpose of PowerPoint, it isn't to write a novel. It's to kind of give you the key points of a topic so you can kind of visualize those, but be able to be efficient about talking about it and describing it. And that's kind of the reason why when you get into the design of the different slides that you can work with, there's different features that you can integrate into those slides that will make that particular slide at that point in time that much more dynamic. So with that being said, I know some of us are getting to that age where need a little bit of help seeing some text. So don't be afraid to go with a larger font here. Text size is going to be your friend. So you want to get you something that you can see, but also whoever's going to be viewing this doesn't have to squint at it or say, hey, can you go back, because I couldn't see what that is. So you want to make sure that you don't really go into 24. So that's a good rule of thought. You might want to kind of hang on to that. But then we can slide on over here to your paragraph settings. If you want to align things to the left, if you want to center them to the right, you add your bullet points. If you want to number, paragraph spacing, if you need to indent, all of these things can be found here. And beyond the text, the home tab also lets you insert new slides. So you can choose slide layouts. So here you can select a new slide. You can, if you click on it, you notice that it gives you a couple of different samples that you can work with. There's a title slide, there's a title and content slide, picture with caption, and these are like some of the different things that I spoke of that you can make sure that your slide kind of speaks to whatever your needs are. And also, let's say that you want to maybe insert a picture or something like that. You don't really need to kind of section off. You can always just select a blank slide, and when you insert your picture, now you have to do some sizing to make it fit into whatever it is that you need in your resolution, but you can also just use a blank slide. So that's a cool little feature here. And once I get over to the slide plane, I want to discuss a couple other things about, not worrying about, when you create a slide, if it's the way you want it, because then you can kind of manipulate it into a way that's much more easier for you to control the presentation the way you like. As a matter of fact, it's a good time to get into it. So as you see here, we'll just add some text. And I put that in here, and then we'll add some more, say the end. All right. So the problem with this is you've already ended your presentation before you started it. Well, if you just grab hold of it, you just click with your left button on your mouse and hold it and just drag it on down, then you can rearrange your slides. And so that's what I meant by when you select your new slide here, don't worry about the placement of it. You want to kind of make sure that whatever it is that you're trying to create, you go ahead and get that integrated inside of your slide. And then once you get it the way you want to, then you can kind of do some other things with it. So that's a cool thing to, realize. All right, and this here, and I know I'm kind of jumping over the place right here, but this is the slide plane. And the reason why they have this here is when you're working with your slides here, you can see in real time as you make your updates how your presentation is going to look. And once you have your presentation the way you want it to look, then we'll get to another section inside of the ribbon where you can actually preview what your presentation is going to look like. All right, so that's pretty much, there's a couple other things that you can do in the home tab. Like you can add different features here. You can do some different arrangements. You can replace font, things like this, but we won't get into, the most of these things in this session here. We'll kind of maybe save this for the advanced session because I don't think just starting out making a basic slide deck, you're going to be using some of these features, but we will visit those later on. So, but let's go ahead on to our next tab, which is the Insert tab. All right. So, and it's a cool feature that, when you select on things for the first time, it'll give you a little helpful hint, let you know you can insert a cameo, and, kind of speaks to itself, where you can just kind of impress your audience. This is almost like your, if you ever watch the news, when there's a anchor speaking about a particular report, and then sometimes over their shoulder, you can kind of see what they're talking about, or kind of get a preview of what's to come. That's what that cameo feature is going to give you. So that's what that is. So the Insert tab, this is where you bring your content to life. The Insert tab lets you add a variety of elements to your slides, like images, shapes, charts, tables, smart art, video, audio clips. You can also insert text box for customized layout control, bringing your icons in. You can add like 3D models. There's all different types of features that you can add inside of your Insert tab. So essentially, you can manipulate the data by just, adding text, but when you actually want to make it dynamic, the Insert tab is going to be more of your friend. So it's kind of pretty self-explanatory. And, once we get into our demo, we'll probably, revisit this and see if we can add some features in here to kind of jazz up things a little bit. But we're going to go ahead over to our next tab, which is the get this out of here. So the Draw tab, and there's really not a lot that we need to explain here, but if you see here, like your highlighter, you can just kind of highlight text. You want to kind of scribble in here, make some notes and stuff like that. It's kind of what you find in the Draw tab. Ruler, for whatever reason, if you needed to add a ruler, that's what you have here. Sometimes you might have measurements and everything like that, where you just, want to take that. So this is what you find under the Draw tab. Like I said, it's not a lot to explain here. It's just kind of, tinker around with some different drawing tools, things like that. So the Design tab. All right, so now we're getting into more of the funner features of PowerPoint. All right, so, pretty much it's kind of plain Jane right now. We don't have anything going on. But what you can do is you can come over here to the Design tab, and this is for where you kind of style and give your presentation a little bit more pizzazz. So, this one kind of stuck out to me because sometimes on the weekend I like to do a little woodwork. I was actually putting in the floor this weekend, so kind of drew up a slide deck here where, now if I was doing some presentation on some of the work I've done, like if I wanted to make like a sales slide deck, I can kind of give this a little bit more of a construction vibe, something that feels into my needs. So you'll find all different types of slides and things like that. And then we can't do much here at QED. They got things locked down, but you can actually browse for different themes that you may have. And I want to say you may be able to, I don't think so, but there's also like, there's a catalog of different elements that you can select. But I know it's locked down here, so I don't think we're able to do, so much with importing things from like the web. But if you open up PowerPoint, maybe in your home office or somewhere else that you might notice when you click on these drop-down tabs, you'll get a lot more features that, help you arrange things and visualize your slide deck a lot better. All right. So let me navigate back to the home tab for just a second, and I'm going to add just a couple of other slides in here just so I can show you a few things. All right, so we got about 5 slides in here, and we've seen where we can insert some items. Let's see. I don't know if I want to get into too much of this right now, but just drop a picture in here just to let you see what it looks like. There you go. It's not the best arrangement. Maybe I should have picked a different picture, but as you can see, you can, that's pretty funky. Let's see here. Let's insert a picture here. Yeah, tech talk with this guy. All right. So now we've inserted a picture. We've created our slide deck. We've inserted a picture. We've drawn some random text, and then we picked a design for our slide deck. So it's really starting to come together. And now what we want to do is make this flow. So this is where we'll come over to our transition tab. Now the transition tab is for how you control your slides when you navigate through your slides, I'm sorry. So this gives it an effect. You can do all different types of effects here. And, the cool thing about these effects are, as you'll see here, there's a particular reveal. So did you check that out? So you put that in there. This is how your slide is going to interact when you go to your next slide. So when you go from this slide here to this slide, you'll notice that now it's a reveal. So there's all different types of ways that you can transition your slide. So let's say we'll give it doors. So we're going to open up to this one. And let's say let's slide this down here to the end. So now we're going to end things here. So we're going to close things up. Isn't that cool? And this is what you'll find in the transition tab. So this is how you give a little bit of life to your slide deck. And you can add sound here. You can even change the duration of your transition. You can select whether or not you want it to be on the mouse click. After, you can give it a timing. There's different features that you can do here. And you can also preview it, which we've been kind of doing by just clicking on it. But as you see here in this left-hand corner here, if you select preview, whatever transition that you select for your particular slide, you'll be able to see how that interacts. And also another key indicator that your slide has some transition included to it. If you'll notice here under the number, you'll see this little animation icon here. That lets you know that this particular slide has some sort of transition attached to it. If you'll notice here for slide 2, you have no animation, and the preview tab is grayed out, so you can't select it actually. And if you wanted to just give it some new, transition, then it illuminates, and voila. So that's the transition tab. I find myself in the transmission tab a lot, especially when I'm trying to come up with cool ways to keep my audience engaged. Like, I like this one a lot. Boom. So it's like when it's something we just, pain point we got to go over, and like, all right, we went over there, let's get that out of here. Fly it away. All right. So that's the transitions. All right. So then the next tab is animation. All right. So the animation tab is where you want to make your content appear step by step, or, emphasize. You want to animate some things. It allows you to give an entrance or an exit. So see here. Doesn't look like we even have the animation option available to us. But see, the animation over here has a plane on the right hand side, and then ideally, if you were able to integrate some animation in here, you could control it here by setting your duration, how you want it to be displayed, how it comes in, how it exits. You can utilize this right hand side of the screen to manipulate your animation of your slide deck. So this just gives you a lot much more control over your creative spirit when it comes to how you present your data or your presentation. All right, so just to recap, you start at your home tab, and here is where you'll create, add new slides, change font size, arrange how the font is curated. Then your insert tab is where you kind of bring into the slide deck what dynamic content you have, or if you want to add some content to it, just to kind of make it much more of a engaging experience. Drawing, this is where you can kind of freehand if some things that what you want, but you just can't seem to find it. If you can draw, or if you just know that there's just some sort of tab that you just want to integrate, that's what you do in your draw tab. Then design, here's where you kind of get your slide deck to look like how your backdrop is, or what your background is going to look like. Then your transition, of course, is how you want to navigate through the actual presentation, just to make sure that while you're speaking, it's not just this plain Jane on to the next. You can give it a little bit flair. Animation is where you extend that flair, kind of add some bedazzle to whatever it is that you're trying to present. And so once you get all of those things in order, you've got it kind of arranged how you want to, you've manipulated the slides and put them in order the way they need to be, then you're going to come over to the slideshow. Now the slideshow is where you're going to kind of get to what your final product is going to look like. So you've already arranged everything, you got it kind of where you need to. Now you have a general design of what it is that your presentation is going to look like. Your slide deck is where you're going to set your elements of how this is going to be presented. So you can say if you're making changes, you put in some sort of transition, it doesn't really flow what you were looking for, you wanted to change up some things, you can either preview your slide deck from here, or you could start it from the beginning and go through the actual slide presentation of how it's going to work. Now I won't do as a matter of fact, let's see, set up my slideshow. Let's try this here. I will try this. Now, keep our fingers crossed for the demo guys, because, like like I said, you can try these things out and then it works 100% of the time at your desk. But as soon as you get in front of people, gremlins, 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 gremlins. All right, so let's go ahead and try this slide deck from the beginning. So we got some text, and to go to your next slide, you can either click on it or you can just press the space bar. And that's how our next slide is. So if we had some content in here, it would be displayed right here. But if you notice how the slide just easily transitioned to a new slide, it was almost like it was magic. All right, so hit our space bar again, and boom. Tech Talk with Corey. I mean, we all come here just to hear Corey's voice. I mean, we know we could be doing anything in this world, but right now we're just spending that time with Corey. So, and this slide here is, lets you know that we're in the right place. All right, Corey's lovely floors on the bottom here. It's got his illustrious Tech Talk logo up here. He's feeling like a big deal here. All right, space bar. Let's get that out of there. We don't need all that for the rest of our life. So we flew it on out of here, and here you have your picture of, what Corey looks like in his free time. We don't want to see those things. Who needs to see these shoes off? We're not here for that. All right, so voila, curtain call. We've reached the end. All right, so that's simple. You've created a slide deck, kind of understood, what it is that it can be done. We've transitioned some slides here and there. And then we've come to our end result, and we all did this while being able to keep our hands remotely free. Keyboard was assistant, but sometimes you can get some of those remote controllers that you can either have a laser pointer, and you can advance your slides and things like that. So that spacebar feature is pretty cool. But in the interim, if you don't have all of that, you can just simply select your mouse and you go on to the next slide. And what happens is at the end of the presentation or the preview mode, it just lets you know at the top of the screen you've ended your slideshow. Select that left mouse button one more time, and it sends you back into your design layer where you can see your workspace and your slide plane again. All right, so this is your slideshow. Like I said, you can either start from the beginning or, like here, we talked about we wanted to insert a picture here. You can say if we're going to insert another picture here, see if we can. This one might not show up too well, but we'll try it. All right. So it's pretty funky, but we'll try it here. All right, so now we know that we have a picture here, and we want to see how this is going to look, but we don't want to go through the whole presentation again. We just want to start from the slide that we're going to be working with. So we're going to go to the previous slide here, and we start off with our Tech Talk from Corey, and we're going to click this time. We're going to click, and then there you have it. There's our upcoming events. We're here, so we don't need to know what PowerPoint basics are, but we're looking ahead to the PowerPoint Advanced, where we're going to get into some real great things. And then we'll just, of course, end it, and we'll end our slideshow. All right, so everything looks pretty good. Like I said, I didn't say it, but here, if you know the slideshow, set up your slideshow. Now, this is key because like in my situation here, I have multiple monitors, and we all generally have multiple monitors at our desk. But if you don't select here, browse by an individual window, you just let it go by presented by a speaker in full screen. What you'll notice is when you create your slide deck and when you go to preview it, like if you hit here, I won't do it here because you won't be able to see it. But what'll end up happening is one screen will be showing this workspace screen, and then the second screen will show the actual slideshow in full screen. And that's, great for certain situations, but if it's a situation like what I have here, where I have one particular screen capturing what it is that I'm presenting, if the slideshow is showing on the opposite screen, only the person sitting in front of the monitor is going to be able to view it. The actual audience that needs to see the screen that's being recorded won't be able to review it. So that's why I came over here before I started the prevent presentation, and I selected Browse by Individual Window. This allows you to lock in which screen that's going to be utilized for your slideshow preview or your slideshow in general. And that just means that the screen that you're working with is going to be actual screen that you're going to be displaying. It gives you a little bit more control. Some of these other features here, we won't get into in this session because I don't think we're going to be utilizing that here. And some of the other features in this tab here, we won't get into. We'll cover this a lot more in our advanced session, like our rehearse timing and our record. They'll be dynamic in situations where, let's say that you're going to be presenting a slideshow, but you're not actually going to be in control of how the slides transition. You'll be able to, either if you have your timing set, if you're that great, you'll be able to just start your slideshow and be able to talk through the slides. And depending on, how you're actually communicating and if you're on task, those slides will just transition along with you. Really nifty and cool feature. All right, so let's slide over to our record tab. Like I said, we won't get into this too much, but here, this is where you're going to be recording content, dynamic content that's going to be utilized in your slide. So let's say if you guys weren't actually at this session, but you were going to get this slide deck and you were just going to view it, and I had some content that I wanted to verbalize to you, you could do that here, where you could record these different cameos like you see here, and you could test those out and see exactly where those recordings are. You can do screen recording to let you know what's actually going on the screen. So there's different features in there, everything here. You can save this as a show. You can export video. There's other features in here. All right. So our review tab. This tab is focused on collaboration and accuracy. So here you can check the spelling and you can use the thesaurus, things like that, just to make sure that everything that's in line is now professional. Because we all make mistakes, but here are your tools that you can go through, and you can use spell check, and like it shows you everything in this slide is correct. It's good to go. Hopefully all of your content is aligned properly, and you can utilize things like different features that helps you know that your slide is or your slide deck is presentable and ready to go. You can also check different things like accessibility. If there's a user that's hearing impaired or visually impaired, things like that. Here's some different things that you'll be able to integrate with your slide deck, so you can make your presentation available to all the audience that need it. Language feature. You can change the language preference, so you write it in your preferred language, or say you need to translate it, you can do those things here. You can add some comments here. You can hide and show your comments. Some other different things that you can do here. So, all right. So the view tab is a pretty cool tab as well. So sometimes you need to work with your content in different angles. You need to see the slide in maybe like an outline format, or you want to see all of the slides aligned differently. You can change those, and you can see here, you can create a almost like a handout of your slides, and you can print this out, and in that way, instead of somebody having to go through your slide deck, they can just actually see. Let's see here. they can actually see each individual slide in a presentable method. Like say if you're going to print it out on like some 11 by 17 paper or something like that, you can align those slides so they can fit and just kind of create handouts. Because sometimes, you might not be able to utilize the media center that you were planning on to run your presentation. And if you work tirelessly on creating this slide deck, and then now in the ninth inning you find out that what you were planning on presenting from having internet connectivity issues, or some new IT regulation that they just ran an update on this morning, didn't tell anybody. Now you can't even utilize PowerPoint. Good thing is you can arrange your slides and print it out and hand those out and still be able to have people follow along. So that's a great feature, and you'll find that under the View tab. And of course, there's help. So if you need to ask them questions, you want to run some training, things like that, contact support. We won't do that here, but if you needed to do those things, there's always opportunity to do so under the Help tab. All right, so I want to slide right back to slideshow for 1 second. And this feature here, we're not doing this here because I don't have a slide deck prepared for you right now, but present in Teams is powerful because when you share content in Teams, sometimes, especially when you're doing it live and you're trying to keep up pace, it can be kind of difficult to find what screen you want to share. And then once you get it there, you're trying to start your slide deck, you got to get to, your presentation mode, things like that. Cool thing about this is when you present in Teams, you click this tab, it'll automatically just take your slide presentation right over to Teams, and then you'll be able to share it right there. It's already set up. You'll get to be able to manage your slide deck, transition through your slides and things like that. And that's a cool little feature, especially for users that's going to have Teams accessible to them, because now instead of you trying to work with all of these different technologies, Microsoft has integrated a feature to where now you can just present it right here. So you go ahead and create it, and you can kind of take it from there. All right, so we kind of covered some of the things out of order from what I kind of had planned, but that's cool because we still got to the content. But like I said, this session here was just basically to kind of talk through the basics of PowerPoint, understand where the most part of where things were, and wanted to kind of go into a little bit of a presentation. We kind of jumped into it a little bit already. But let me slide back over to the slide plane and just kind of wind this up for you. And it's just, again, it's just this vertical section here to the left of your screen where you can just kind of see as you create how this presentation is going to look. And then from there, if you need to realign, or you notice that, hey, this won't work, or like in this situation here, where I knew that this slide was coming here, but it wasn't going to work for me, I could, select a different slide that may work better for me. So let's see. There you go. So now I'm visualizing the content that I wanted to have here, and I've seen that, okay, that picture didn't work in the slide I had previously, but now I have it working here. And the great thing about it is okay, it works for me, but I don't need this anymore. We'll just select it and see here. Should be able to just delete this. Here's my delete it. I know I can move this here. Let's see, wait a minute. Maybe I can't. Okay. Usually in certain slides, this box here that's covering this picture here, you can just delete that. Not able to do that here, but for some reason, I know in certain, yeah, I can't do it here. Certain slides, you can create a slide here, and if there's an element in here that you don't like, let's see if we can just try this out for a second. So say we're going to add a picture here. We add this picture here and let's add some text here, but we don't need all of this. So this thing's just gonna, like I said, these presentations are live, so sometimes things work and sometimes they don't. There you go. All right. All right, so there you go. All right, so you can delete things out of your slide that you don't need. And that's great because, I mean, who needs to, go and find the perfect slide? Sometimes once you get things, manipulated the way you want them, you just want to kind of, work what you have. I don't need to find the perfect slide that's going to give me exactly what it is I'm looking for. I've already got it. I just want to take what I have and, work with what I got, and whatever I don't need, just get rid of it. Now see here, the animation tab is working because we have text. So now we got our text here, we got it animated. We slide this, can't really slide this over. Yeah, I can't really work with that. Okay, so there we have it. We got our animation going. We got our Tech Talk with Corey here, and we have our slide here with unneeded text box that we love to just get rid of. Wait a minute. Just gotta be patient sometimes, I see. Well, you get the gist of it. You can kind of work with you can work with this and manipulate it however you need to. If you needed to get in here, things like that. But yeah, so we got our animation in this one. Got our picture in here. We got rid of the elements that we didn't need. We added this background picture that we have here. Probably will want to select a different slide. That way we can move this grayed out box. We don't need our title here. Got some text here. You can integrate other features in here, like some slides. You're able to add graphs in. There's different things like that. But also, if you notice that, let's say I like this slide here, and I want to use it again. I want to add some different content here like that. Just simply right click on it. And if you come down here, you can just duplicate the slide. So that makes it easier because now, instead of you having to try to figure out what you use to create this slide originally, you just duplicated it, and now you can just add your text in here. And it's just as simple as right clicking it and selecting duplicate. And say that, okay, I thought I had more content that I needed and I didn't need it now. Go ahead and right click it again and just delete it. So, and let's see here. I think we have all of the things that we need. We just want to go through and preview our slide one more time. Our slide deck's like, okay, we got our text. transition to, a blank stare at the wall. Back here talking tech with Corey, one click it away, and we're gonna go on to the next level. Come right back on Thursday for another Tech Talk with Corey. That's why that second slide's in there. Need to find out what our upcoming events are. I like to think that the other screen is blanked out of the things that we went through. We're just gonna go with that one for this one. As always, this was great work. So Tech Talk with Corey is always some great work. I can tell you, I put in a lot of work to get this content to you guys. So, and I thank you for coming and checking me out and spending an hour with me so we can just work through these, because I'm pretty sure that we all learn from this, whether we've, done this 1,000 times or not, it's always something that we learn. So, and I mean, right on cue, we've come to the end, folks. So that's pretty much it. That's all I had for today. I just wanted to kind of go through the basics, give you guys a brief overview of what we can do inside of PowerPoint. Hopefully it was informative to you guys. I'd like to open up, at the end of the session, just questions and cues, things like that. Anybody have anything that, they may have misunderstood or wanted clarification on, or, maybe wanted to add some things like that. I'd like to open up the last couple of minutes of the session just to, let people voice, some of the things that they're working with. Thank you guys. Mike, Sheila, man, that's amazing. Helps me understand that, the stress that I, go through, wondering whether or not the content is coming over effectively. Your feedback helps me understand that it reached you guys and you appreciated it, because I definitely appreciate the opportunity. So, absolutely, that's pretty much what we had planned for today. Thursday, again, we're going to jump into the more advanced features of PowerPoint. We're going to talk about some things like I said, recording videos. I'm going to try to have a video recorded so you can see how those integrate. If possible, I'm going to try to put some sound into it so you can see what the sound is like. May try and add some music to it. I don't want to interfere with my vocals here, but just trying to show you some more features and some advanced features like that. And if we have some time, I'll try to go ahead and get a slide deck prepared that we can go ahead and share. And I'll be able to do that straight through Teams, and you'll be able to see what that looks like when you present through the Teams app. Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Tisha. I really appreciate all of that. You guys definitely warm my spirit. Thanks to my guy, Chris. I appreciate you. Thanks, JP, again, Olivia. Thank you, Eddie. Let's see here. Greg. We got to definitely send a huge shout out to Kelly. Without her, none of this would be possible. Thank you, Thomas, for, always just kind of giving me that, y'all don't know, man, when I come in here, Thomas always just gets me prepped up for, he's like, yo, Corey, you can get this. So just appreciate all of that support. Thank you to my team upstairs, Sean, Riley, Jeremy, everybody that kind of helps out, Heather, all of the people and everything like that. So again, this is the time that you guys have. You can share your comments. Let me know if there's anything that you would like for me to go over. So once we do get through this next section of PowerPoint, the advanced session, then we're going to get into some really cool tools that Microsoft has to offer. We're going to talk about Microsoft Forms. We're going to do a really cool interactive demo in that, where we're gonna actually build out a form, and you guys are going to actually get that form, and you'll be able to actually create some content. So that's going to be a more interactive session. And then we're going to get into Power Automate, which is a tool that I utilize a lot. And that's a tool that kind of ties in all of the different things that you can do with Microsoft. and it makes it, almost like an app. There's another tool that we may feature here. It's called Power App. And once you get your automation together and you got your forms and everything like that integrated, then you can create an actual app. And we have access to all of these tools, whether you guys know it or not. It's actually in office.com. But there's so many different tools that we have access to that I don't think that we know we can utilize. So my goal is to feature those tools here, even if it's just to scratch the surface on it for you guys to see that they're available. And then hopefully, once you understand a little bit more about what those tools have to offer, you'll feel comfortable enough to go ahead and integrate it into your normal workflow, because I'm pretty sure there's some things that you manually do now that you would be surprised that you would be able to utilize to make your life that much easier here. So, like I said, my goal is to bring those to you through these sessions and hopefully build on that so I can learn, so I can help you guys learn, because this is all just a revolving wheel for us to upskill ourselves and be better productive employees while we're here, and also make our life easier once we're out of here, because we can always use these tools on the outside. But that's my time, folks. It's been a great session. We got a couple of more minutes, so anybody, like I said, you have anything, go ahead and drop it in the chat. Let me know. And hopefully you guys return for this advanced session where we can kind of get a little bit more, features under our tool belt and kind of make this thing much more easier to work with.